Hey guys, welcome back for part 2. So in this step, what we're doing is bringing down the hair color to the section of the hair at least half, 2/3, or 1/3 of the way down. In this case, we're going at least half, if not 2/3. This first section here is generous, it's wide and it's deep, but you can divide it in half if it's easier for you to work with. Because I want to go all the way through to the other side with my lightener, only near the last third of the ends, I'm going to pass through the other side. So I'm going to use my comb to ensure that I can get through to the other side with this lightener. And the purpose of this technique is that we do want most of the ends in this star section to be pre-lightened, because we don't want to wind up with a harsh line. We're going section by section and feathering it up. Can't really utilize the back combing technique here because we're pulling color through as well. And by doing these two together, it eliminates a step of shampooing, drying, and then pre-lightening the ends. So we're doing this all in one step. Sometimes the lightener is going to go over the hair color. I'm using 30 volume and cream bleach by Keune. It's a powder lightener, but they call it cream bleach. And the black brush is hair color, and the little yellow, little silver one is for lightener. So we're smushing or feathering or melding colors down. And in some cases, I'm going to bring the color a little further down and use my lightener towards the ends. And sometimes I'm going to bring the color all the way down and bring the lightener over top of the color. Because there's a generous portion of this video dedicated to the balayage or ombre, we went in fast motion so that we could show the whole particular thing, but it would have taken too long to leave in one clip. So you want to bring your hair color with good saturation. And here I have a nice large tooth comb. I actually have two identical ones. One is clean for combing hair, and one has product in it for combing the hair through. You want to ensure that this hair color is well saturated, as well as the lightener is well saturated. Sometimes if there was too much hair color and bleach mixed into that brush itself, I wiped it off on the towel that I have on my cart. There's also a towel that I'm wiping my hands off if I'm using the glove. Depending on how I feel at the very moment, whether I use that Loreal board or paddle, or if I just use my hands. So you notice the hair color changes color a little bit once the lightener is put over it. It turns like a reddish purple. But there's nothing to worry about with that. The depth of my sections are workable enough for me. Average is about 1/4 inch deep. And depending on how wide I'm using, could vary anywhere from 1 1/4 inches to 2 inches wide. To be sure that you have variety, there are times when you're going to paint a very long, slim stroke from the scalp into a stronger section at the bottom like you see here, just so I can have a little highlighting going up to the scalp. And I probably do that very strategically as I see fit. Hair color is part science and part art. So the placement of this hair color is where the art comes in. So there's no set pattern for when I decide to put a highlight in, but there is a set pattern to how far down the hair color will feather and the bleach will feather in into the ends, like you see here. You want to have good saturation of your product. It's the most important step. In balayage technique, the ends, the last third of the ends, typically is where the product will pass all the way through to the other side. So when you're feathering balayage, starting from point A, let's say wherever you choose point A to B, you want to have a light hand. You don't want that color to pass through to the other side because you want it to look soft into stronger ends like you see here. So you're going to see I'm working it in through the ends, and from time to time I'll feather it up. See here, I switched brushes and actually used the color on the back side back to the brush with the lightener on it. Now, because of the look we were going for, every section that's coming down has lightener on it. You may not do that to every section depending on the technique that you're doing. But we wanted every section to have lightener on it that was coming down. Where it started was part of my style design choice. But I knew all of the ends were going to be heavy and pre-lightened, but very soft transition from the color into the lightened area. So as long as you stay consistent with your sections and your technique, you can arrange a beautiful hair color at any time. So when I started this project, we already knew what we were looking for before we started. The star shape is to promote separation of one type of color into the other so that there's no harsh lines. The depth of the star was what we wanted. We wanted it to be consistent around. We didn't want the legs of the star incredibly deep. We just wanted the reddish color to fall softly over the top. And the underneath color to stay pretty consistent. Star-shaped patterns are great to work with. If you use them all the way to the front of the forehead, you just want to be sure if you want the point of the star to go to the forehead or the two legs to be on either side, left and right of the forehead. So if you think that one through, you either want the point of the star to come directly into the forehead in line with the nose, or if you want the two legs to go on the left or the right side of the nose. And then you have to decide how you want to place it. Do you want to place it right to the hairline, or set it back as we did to keep her bangs fairly heavy of its original color and not bring this lighter color into the bang area. And then if your client or model wears her hair parted from any particular way, you want to know how that star would be situated on the head. Would you, drag it over to the side a little bit? Because you have to understand how the heavy side and the light side will react when doing techniques like this with blocked out sections. See, feathering there into heavy, heavy saturation into the ends. Working that product through, getting that lightener fully saturated, feathering it up. There's lots of fun techniques you can utilize the star shape. Hopefully we'll get a few more of those up. Those little plastic strips are wonderful to have. You could easily use saran wrap as well. Just those little strips seem to be pretty easy. Thin too. Slide out of the hair very easily when you're ready to shampoo. Here I'm just looking on the other side, checking for balance. And here I'm just working the light hair color all the way through and just working the lightener up. Lightener on color makes the color go lighter. Color on bleach makes the bleach weak. So sometimes you'll see me putting the bleach on dry hair, and sometimes you see me putting it over the colored hair. I'm just looking for a variation on the level of lightness I'll achieve. I realize this video was long, but I do get told from time to time people want to see the whole technique done. So just make sure that you have good saturation into the ends. Feathering up to where you need. If you want to put a highlight closer to the scalp, just lightly feather to whatever width of section that you need. Checking for the back side to make sure the color is saturated through, and the board is holding the hair quite nicely, quite taut, so we're just feathering that up. Be sure to check out the final result on video 3. Thanks for watching, guys.